Hey guys, this is Earthling. I'm beginning to wonder if, like the title says, if being rich is some kind of a mental illness. Now, I don't mean, I'm born into being rich. Actually, I mean any kind of rich. I mean, if you're rich, maybe it's a mental illness. And I don't mean to suggest necessarily that being rich, okay, everybody over $1 million US is rich and they all have a mental illness. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, if someone has body dysmorphia or bulimia or something, then it's an illness, it's a disease, it's something that we need to fix so that they can live a normal life with other people around. Is it possible that it's a mental illness? How is it that, if somebody told you they wanted to eat as much as possible and it was their goal to eat and to grow as huge as they possibly could, I don't think that anybody would think that is normal and that is necessarily a good idea or a good goal to have in mind. But we don't seem to think that there is a limit to how rich a person should be or should want to be. Or, let me see, if somebody was a hoarder and their goal was to just fill their entire house with stuff, we would look at that and we would say, maybe we should we should talk to people. Maybe you should talk to a specialist, a psychiatrist, somebody to get control of this. Or if somebody's decided that, I don't know, what else can you do? I can't think of any other extreme right now, but it seems that it should be something that should be looked into. If someone has more than enough wealth to last for several generations going forward, even just by living on the interest of what they have, and their kids can live off of that interest, and their kids' kids can live off of that interest, and yet they still want more, that really feels like an illness. Because, okay, let me put it in another way. I was looking up some stuff the other day, like who owns the most land in the US. And there are people who own like 1 million acres of land. Like Ted Turner, I think he's still alive. He owns like 1 million acres of land. And then there are other people who are wealthy. I mean, for me personally, I'm at a particular age where I see, okay, based on the life expectancy of people around me, people where I am, people in my family, I can assess that, okay, I probably have this much more time ahead of me in life. What business would I have in wanting to do more than assess, okay, well, I can do 10 years of this, 10 years of that, and then I don't know what's going to happen in this other time. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. I realize that there's certain things that I cannot do, like I can't win an Olympic medal in certain sports anymore. That's gone. It's out the window. I remember when I realized that I couldn't get it was very unlikely for me to get an Olympic medal in gymnastics or, martial arts or something at a particular age. And I was like, wow, okay, that's done. And then in tennis and any number of different areas. And I was like, okay, yeah, that is gone. I mean, it probably was never in the cards to begin with. But at the same time, I had a general idea that it was still possible given, my age or so. But for one thing, to kind of jump into something, I don't know what it is, and I may need to do this discussion again. Maybe I need to write it down and flesh out everything that I'm thinking, maybe a part 2 or a part 3 or something. But for one thing is definitely clear. If being rich or the desire to be rich, sure, when you're already rich, if it is a mental illness, then it is one of those mental illnesses that will never be officially recognized as a mental illness, because rich people and everybody, all of us that look up to rich people, we're not going to see a problem with it. We aren't, because I guess it has taken me a long time myself to even realize, hey, maybe this isn't right. For example, the people in the Amazon. I've heard maybe some of the researchers or whoever went to investigate how they live, that these people may be lazy. Some of them have been described as being lazy, that they would do a certain amount of work, and when they're done enough to eat or whatever, they would just spend the rest of the day relaxing and playing around and doing whatever. And, you know, even when you hear descriptions of the natives that Christopher Columbus met when he came to the Americas, it was along those lines. If you want shellfish, you go down to the beach and you know, dig for some shellfish, or you cast a net, or you do whatever, and you cook that, and then you eat, and then you go and sleep. And, you know, if you look at other animals can't accumulate stuff like we do. Maybe squirrels do, maybe, you know, bears in America, in the US, they do that. Animals that hibernate, maybe they do that, but there's still a limit. I can't imagine that you know, you're gonna get twice your size and be like, let me keep eating. Really, you probably don't need to keep doing that. So naturally speaking, living things shouldn't, well, apparently squirrels hoard stuff, and that's a good thing for plants to grow from. But in nature, it's not possible for us to hoard things naturally. The only people, for the most part, the only organisms that can hoard are us. So, and then here we are, we've taken it to the extent where, honestly, I just feel like it's a mental illness. I think it's the same kind of thing as if somebody decided that they were going to eat and then bring up their food in order to maintain their body weight, rather than controlling the food or limiting the food before it gets into their body. Or if there's somebody who just decided that they were just going to keep eating, regardless of what size they are or how big they were getting, I think that's a problem mentally. I think that's, even if it's not a mental illness, it's a mental structure that is not healthy. Or if, you know, we decided that, I don't know, you wanted to do bloodletting, or you wanted to cut yourself regularly, I don't think that that's something that's healthy. Maybe it isn't a mental illness, but it's not something that's healthy. And I think that desiring to be as rich as you possibly can be is not only a threat for one's own self, I think it's a threat to society. Because let's look at the limits of how far this can go. If one person can go and become as rich, they can just keep going, accumulating wealth, it means that at some point in the future, potentially, they can own all the land, they can own all the companies, they can own all of the means of producing food. And what is that like when someone owns everything? That's like, not, I guess, a dictatorship, but it's worse than that. It's why do they need you they don't want you, they would not want you to have any excess, right? It's like, if you have food for tomorrow and they can just give you food every day, they wouldn't want you to even have that food for tomorrow, because they can add that to their pile of wealth, right? They can take everything away from everyone. That's what the limit of that is that one person will control everyone else. Or even if it's just a few people will control everyone else. And that, it's like a cancer. That's what cancer is. And, maybe I'm sounding a little bit like a communist or a crazy person, but I can't see how it works out any other way. If you let a company get as big as it wants to get, it will swallow every other company. If you allow one person or any one person to be as rich as they want to be, they will own everything. So shouldn't there be a limit, perhaps, to that? To say, okay, when you're this rich, for example, if the US economy is like $13 trillion and one person is a trillionaire, that means they own like 1/13 of the US economy. If you have a bunch of people who own more than $6.5 trillion of wealth, then they own half of the US economy. And I don't know, when you put it in those terms, I don't think that it makes any sense to, part of what I think it is in the end is that anything that can happen is probably likely to happen. And then when it's happened, if it isn't good, we're going to go back and retrace our steps and say, whoa, that was a bad thing. Maybe we should not let that happen again. I think that's what's going to happen with respect to the climate. I think that's what's going to happen with respect to almost everything. It happened with respect to the whales. Nobody was going to say, well, maybe we've had enough whales. Nobody was going to say, with respect to the carrier pigeon, it's extinct. I think it was the passenger pigeon or the carrier pigeon. Whichever pigeon it is, it's extinct. Because nobody said, oh, come on, let's stop. It's a tragedy of the commons. If there's one pigeon and everybody wants a pigeon, and you can get that pigeon, whether it's in soup or whatever it is, you get something that everybody else was going to do anyway. We would have to go around to everybody who wants the pigeon and say, yo, you have to agree not to get the pigeon, because they only need one person to continue doing it. Yeah, every bad thing that can happen, more than likely, unless it's something like the ozone layer, and even that, apparently, some people are still producing ozone-destroying chemicals. So I guess, we can't really, yeah. Boy, do I end up sounding kind of bad, but it's not me. If it was that there was a benefit to still killing whales, if we hadn't invented crude oil, there would be no more whales. Just like there are no more dodos. Just like there are no more, passenger pigeons. Like there are no more whatever else that nobody is in control of. So, anyway. I really have to find a way to end these things a little bit more positively, perhaps. So, if you like, give it a like. I have to listen to this and see if it's worth liking. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And, if you want to share with someone to see what this crazy person put up on the internet, you can do that too. And, feel free to subscribe. Peace.